So I'd like for our audience to hear your origin story with the Howard Stern show. I think it has something to do with a nagging girlfriend, maybe a joke and a fateful call. What's the story there?
Yeah, so I was living in Vegas. I had listened to the Stern Show for years before that. One of the things I really loved were the fights that they used to get into, and I would work late, so I'd get off work at about 1 o'clock. The show would come on live at 3 a.m. In Vegas, and I would usually stay up playing video games, getting stoned, and listening to 3 hours of Stern, and then I'd go to bed. It's Vegas, everybody's up all night,
Yeah.
and weed is the least of your drug worries in Vegas, believe me. So I listen, and then all of a sudden I hear, oh, and when I would listen, my girlfriend at the time, my ex, she would get mad that I would be listening to the show instead of coming to bed.
Mm.
And it was much more fun to play video games and listen to the show than it was to come to bed. So I remember this one night we got in a big argument. She's just like, I don't get it. She's like, you listen to the show, you record stuff from the show. She's like, call in, do something. And I'm just like, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about. And she goes to bed. And that night, that morning, he announces that the show is coming to the Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas, and that they're going to do the show live from a blackjack table. And if you want to make a bet at the table, you should come down to the Hard Rock and we'll figure out how to get you on and make bets. And I said, all right, I'm going to call. And I picked up the phone and I called the 800 number for the first time after listening for like 8, 9 years. And it picks up. And the screener says, what do you want to talk to Howard about? And I said, I want to tell him a joke. And if he laughs, I want to be able to make a bet with him at the blackjack table. And he says, all right, hold on. And next thing you know, I get on the air like fate, like destiny. I just hear him, Shuli, you're on the air. And I'm like, hey, I want to tell you a joke. And if you laugh, I want to make a bet with you at the table. And he kind of starts, he's like, I don't know, I don't know. And I'm like, come on, Howard, please. He says, all right, go ahead. So I said, this guy goes to a golf course, and he says, I want to play 18 holes and I want a caddy. And he stops and he goes, Jackie, you know this joke? And I'm like, don't, Jackie, don't ruin it. Jackie the joke man was on the show at the time, and he know every joke. And I started again. Said the guy says, I want to play 18 holes and I want a caddy. And the golf guy says, the owner of the course says, listen, I got these robot caddies. I want you to try one out on me, 9 holes. Tell me what you think. Says, I just got 5 of these. Says, all right. He goes out. This robot starts giving him club speed, wind speed, which club to use, wind speed, all this stuff. The guy ends up shooting the best 9 holes of golf he's ever shot. Comes back to the owner. He says, you got 5 of these? He says, get 50. You're going to be rich. This is amazing. So he comes back to the golf course 3 weeks later, brings a buddy with him. He says, we want to play 18 holes and we want a robot caddy. And the golf club owner says, sorry, I had to get rid of the robots. And he says, what happened? They were great. He says, well, it turns out when the sun would hit it, the gray metal frame, it would reflect and blind the golfer's vision. And the guy says, paint him black. He says, we did. 2 called in sick. 3 tried to rob us. And Howard chuckled. And then he goes, oh, that's so stupid. And I'm like, you laughed. And he's like, all right, hold on. I'll put you on with Gary. And that was it. It was literally my first call to the show. I got on the air and I got booked to come and make a bet with them at the blackjack table, which I ended up doing. I brought every penny to my name at the time, which was $300, and we played one hand on the table of blackjack, and sure enough, we got an 11, and everybody wanted to double down, but over here was working at a liquor store. I didn't have another $300, so Howard staked me another 300. We hit the double down. We won. Dealer busted. And after that, I saw that show as like a job. Even before I started working for him, I said, I'm going to come up with material, whatever I can come up with, and I'm going to call in every day. And maybe one day I'll get a shot with these guys. Maybe one day I'll be able to do some sort of work with them. So that was my story.
Wow. How did you initially find out they wanted you on the show full time?
They called me, a guy by name of Tim Sabian, who was Howard's first program director at Sirius, gives me a call one day. I'm in Vegas. I'm doing an internet radio show with 2 other comics, and he calls me and he says, "This is Tim Sabian. I'm working on something. I can't even discuss it on the phone with you, but," and this was a Saturday. He says, "I need you out in New York by tomorrow." And I'm like, I go, "All right, what is this for?" He goes, "Can't talk about it, but you got to come out here. We'll put you up in a hotel. Come to Syria." I said, "Oh, okay." I go to my dad. I don't have a pot. I'm running 4 open mics. I'm making like $80 a week. You know, I go to my dad. I said, "You got to buy me a plane ticket to New York." And my dad, he's an Israeli. He ain't giving up that kind of money without some questions, right? So he's like, "For what?" And I'm like, "It's for a job with the Stern Show." "If it's a job, why don't they pay for the ticket?" I said, "Listen, I don't know. It's like a tryout. Well, what are you trying out for?" "I don't know. He won't tell me over the phone." "So you want me to buy you?" I go, "Jesus Christ, can you just buy me a ticket?" Till this day, he knows the exact amount. If you ask my dad, how much was the plane ticket for
Yeah.
Shuli to go to New York? And
Well,
$948. He remembers till
yep.
this day. Uh, you know. So yeah, he bought me a ticket. I flew out the next day. They Monday shows up. They bring me into this boardroom, and it's this news team. Howard decided he wants a Howard 100 news team to cover the world of the Stern Show, the guests, the staff, the Whack Pack, you name it. We were like the Entertainment Tonight for Howard's show, right? And the only problem is they hired all these great real reporters, but none of them knew the show. None of them were super fans of the show. So Tim brought me in to be a consultant and to kind of teach them about the show. And I did. That was my first full day. I taught them. So I snuck a recorder out and I went out to Times Square and I started asking people, "Are you excited that Howard's coming to Sirius?" Because Howard wasn't there yet. Howard was still on terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
So I'm asking people, "Are you excited that Howard's coming?" And they would say whatever they'd said. I would just reply with something. I was doing crowd work. I was being
Yeah.
a comic, but I was using Howard's name. And I brought it back to the news director at the time, and she was like, "This is fantastic. I'm putting this on the air right now." And for me, I was like, "All right, time to learn how to edit, time to learn how to interview, time to learn anything and everything, you shine shoes, whatever they're going to keep me here for. I am not going back to that Israeli couple in that townhouse." And yeah, and so I lasted, man, a full year. And then I finally got a contract with Sirius. I made the cut from 18 reporters to 4, and I was one of the 4. So
There's got to be so many stories that could be told from your time with the show. Is there one that stands out to you? I mean, the Whack Pack, the puppets. I mean, what was your favorite shtick?
I mean, as a huge fan of the show throughout the years, hearing the great Billy West do impressions and work puppets on there, to be able to do a sliver of that, I in no way came close to the genius that he did, but to be able to do stuff like that, just to be able to be in the room and make them laugh, like with my like to look over and see Howard laughing as hard as humanly possible, is everything. It's the reason. It's the dream I had from my first call into the show was to be hanging and making that guy laugh. So I came here from Israel. I didn't know the language that great. I had long hair. I looked weird. I had a weird name. So my only kind of coping mechanism and kind of getting people to not treat me right, like that was my tool that I kind of used to become the tool that I am today.
The tool you used to become the tool you are today.